So normally what I'll do with a client is, if I'm not working with them directly, to have them contact the credit bureaus directly, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And
Now say that again?
Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion.
Okay.
Directly.
And what is that going to do for them?
Well, those are the three major credit reporting agencies, and you are entitled by law to receive one free credit report per year.
Okay, you get to look at what you do. Okay,
exactly.
You know, my credit thing was 780, my credit bureau.
That's one. There's actually three.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and each one is graded differently, and of course they don't put out their system as to how they accumulate the credit reports as well. But normally what I'll do with a client is I'll ask them to get a credit report, or if they are in the process of purchasing a house and I've already discussed their options with them, I'll go ahead and pull a credit report, which I will review. And one of the major reasons for that is, as a home buyer, especially in this market, you want to make sure that you are in the best possible position to get a loan approved.
What is the highest credit bureau score should you have to get a home?
Well, it's going to depend on the individual, and it's also going to depend on the program.
650, is that a good one?
With a 650 credit score, government agencies are available, such as FHA, or if they're a veteran, to where you have the ability to buy a home. Sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, depending on the individual and the circumstance.
Okay.
There was a time when you could call up a lender and ask, what is your interest rate, and they could give it to you. In this day and age, that has changed. They base it on the loan to value of the house. In other words, how much of a mortgage you're going to have versus the value of the home. Your credit is going to be a big
How many bills
factor.
you have that you're paying per month?
Right. Your debt to income ratio, which is where this comes into play.
Okay.
Lenders, of course, like to see that as low as possible when lending. The higher your debt to income ratio, in other words, what you spend versus what you take in, the higher it is, the more risk it becomes.
All right.
And it seems at this stage of the game, the only loans that are available out there are what they call full documentation loans.
Full documentation,
Which
what does that
means-
mean? You've been scrutinized pretty good before you get the money?
Well, basically they want to know what you make.
Yeah, they
pay
should.
stubs, W-2s, and so forth.
Yeah.
Whereas when you talked about how mortgages were so easy to get previously,
Yeah, they were.
they had programs that were stated income, which absolutely makes no sense. Or
What is stated income?
a stated income is where an individual simply states they make X amount of dollars.
And nobody bothers to check that?
I am not the
No
underwriters.
wonder we're in so much trouble.
Well, that and no documentation loans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a major portion of it, because you could go in and say, I make X.
See, I
and
make
if-
$10,000 a month. Okay, you can have
If
it.
they consider it reasonable income, they would do that. There was also programs out there called no-doc loans, where you had to offer no documentation whatsoever.
Good Lord.
So it's,
I know why my credit cards got screwed up.
well,
I have fought with those people. You would not believe what I've said on the phone.
well, in a perfect world, credit, is a necessary evil.
It is
but it's
yeah.
also in how you use it.
I know.
I don't see the sense in buying a cup of coffee with a credit card. It just doesn't make any sense
No,
to
or a
me.
bottle of Coke or things like that.
Sure.
One Christmas, a few years ago, I have a great niece I adore. Her name is Rosa Marie, and I thought, I'm going to give her her first credit card. It was a gas card. She just got her first car. At first, when she would buy the gasoline, Aunt Rose, she'd write me a check, here's your money. But then it got to be 100, 200, 300, 400. And I just set her down and I said, look, I'm not a bank. I love you, you're my niece, I gave you this, but I don't think you're ready for it, and I took it away from her.
Well, see, in purchasing a home, one thing you do have to maintain and you do have to watch are your spending habits.
Yes, you do.
Because
you can go to a store, even Walmart, and you can spend $100 just thinking on a couple of things.
Well, certainly.
Then you don't know how you're going to pay for it.
A home is the biggest investment of your life, in that, for years, your house was your home. You paid for it. And then for quite a few years, it kind of changed, where you had the availability of pulling money out for, let's say, I joke about it, where people would pull equity out of their home to buy disposable items and vacations and things like this, which really did not make sense.
They're taking out a second mortgage, is what you're saying. That's
To
a
some
way.
degree. It depends on, and I focus on the first-time home buyers, because I figure if I can focus on them and their spending habits, they're not going to get themselves into that situation. They may not be in the situation when they get the house, but life does have a tendency to change.
Yes, it does.
And events do happen that, it may be necessary to get an equity line or something along that line.
What about an 18-year-old? Say you have an 18-year-old comes in and they want to talk to you about getting a home. What do you say to them and set them down? What do you do?
Well, first thing I'll do is I'll ask them who they spoke to about it previously to me.
You mean who they spoke to? Was the house they looked at or what?
Well, in an issue like that, that's the legal age of 18. Now,
Legal age is 18, okay.
Now you have to understand, in order to buy at the age of 18, there are certain criteria that a lender is going to look at. Even with a person at the age of 18, their chances are they're going to be looking at a government program, which
What's
would be
a government program?
an FHA program, which will allow them to use what's called a non-occupant co-borrower. In other words, mom and dad can sign with them because at the age of 18, they have not established enough credit.
They don't have enough of credit, exactly.
To show that. So
yeah.
Mom and dad can also go into it. It's similar to a co-signer on a car note. They still have the same responsibility.
Do lots of parents do this for these children?
Not 18-year-olds.
I would not think so.
And, that's the legal age to purchase, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make sense for them to purchase. At the age of 18, I mean, I don't want to be discriminatory to age in any way, shape, or form, but it's usually not going to be in the cards unless they're going to buy cash for the house.
There are lots of 18-year-olds, and you know yourself, they're already married or living with someone with 2 or 3 small children.
That could very well be.
That's right, and they're some welfare. They're getting food stamps, It's sad.
Well, society as a whole has taken quite a shot.
Society has just caved, I think, a lot. I really do. I look at things and I just shake my head and wonder what it's going to be like in 10 years from now.
Well, it certainly won't be like it is now.
You don't think so?
No.
How do you think it's going to be?
I have not a crystal ball under my coat.
I don't have one under the table either. Do you think it's going to be better?
I'm hoping. I'm hoping common sense
hope.
comes more into play than anything else, because that seems to be lacking in a lot of industries. That's something that Wall Street maybe needs to understand too, that common sense is common sense. If it's going to hurt, you don't do it more than once.
It doesn't seem like, from what I can gather from people I've been speaking with, they're not as eager to focus on buying now, because 18, 19, 20, even some 22 and 23-year-olds could just walk in and breeze in and get a house. Now I think it's a lot stricter because we are in a recession.
Well, it is much stricter.
And it should have been like this all the time, I think.
I would say it would be close.
Really?
In that people, if you're going to be able to buy something on time, you certainly should be able to afford it.
Right.
However, when you're looking at the current market as it stands, we are experiencing something that has never happened before.
Exactly.
And,
but it should wake us up.
Well, here's my take on it. Normally in real estate and mortgage markets, when the interest rates are low, the values are high.
What do you mean?
In other words,
are low.
when interest rates are low, the value of a property is usually higher.
Higher.
And then when interest rates are high, the values are lower. The reason for that is the affordability factor of the buyer. Currently in this market, not only do you have low interest rates, you also have a lower cost. There's not a county in the state of Maryland that hasn't experienced some type of loss in value in the properties compared over the last several years. So therefore, the interest rates have been staying low in comparison to where...
What are the interest rates right now?
Depending on what kind of a program and what you're looking at, the interest rates are in the 5s.
5 percentile?
In that range. It's just going to basically depend on the individual. But in the current market, when you have a property that's a low price and you have a low interest rate, it makes the home much more affordable for a larger sector of the population.
Okay.
Let's face it, interest rates were low 2 years ago, and the property values were skyrocketing. I mean, there are areas right around here that have lost anywhere from 20 to 30% of what they sold for several years ago.
Really? 20 to 30%, that's a lot.
Well, it depends on the locality, and it can run into pockets. There are some areas that have appreciated in value. A lot of major factors for that are school systems are a big factor in property value. Access to major thoroughfares, shopping, and so forth. These are all issues that a lot of people are looking at. We've had a huge, massive boom in building.
Oh, my God, we have.
In the last 5 years.